Number 10. Pisces and Aries radio signal. A radio signal was received 3 times from the same region of space in February 2003. Astronomers with the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence (SETI) project used a massive telescope in Puerto Rico to re-examine 200 sections of the sky which had all previously yielded unexplained radio signals. These signals had all disappeared except for one, which had become stronger. The signal's widely thought to be the best candidate yet for alien contact and comes from a spot between the constellations Pisces and Aries where there are no obvious stars or planets. Curiously, the signal is at one of the frequencies that hydrogen, the most common element, absorbs and emits energy. Some astronomers believe that this is a very likely frequency at which aliens wishing to be noticed would transmit. Nevertheless, there's still a good chance the signal is from a never-seen-before natural phenomenon, but I'd like to think that it's aliens. Number 9. Mysterious beam of energy. In December 2020, researchers announced that they had captured a very mysterious beam of energy in the radio part of the electromagnetic spectrum at 980 MHz coming from the closest star to our own. Proxima Centauri, which is just 4.2 light-years away, hosts one gas giant and one rocky world 17% larger than Earth that happens to be in its star's habitable zone, meaning liquid water could exist there. The unexplained signal reportedly shifted slightly while it was being observed in a way that resembled the shift caused by the movement of a planet. Researchers are excited but cautious, explaining that they will need to figure out if more mundane sources, such as a comet, hydrogen cloud, or even human technology, could be mimicking an alien signal, and that it will likely take time before they know one way or another if aliens are contacting us. Number 8. Milky Way signal. On April 28, 2020, 2 ground-based radio telescopes detected an intense pulse of radio waves within the Milky Way. It was the first time an FRB had ever been detected within our galaxy, and despite only lasting a millisecond, it was almost impossible to miss. Located just 300,000 light-years away from Earth, the FRB was picked up by the Canadian Hydrogen Intensity Mapping Experiment (CHIME) and the Survey for Transient Astronomical Radio Emission 2 (STARE-2). CHIME wasn't even looking in the right direction, and we still saw it loud and clear in our peripheral vision, said Kyoshu Masu, assistant professor of physics at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. STARE-2 also saw it, and it's only a set of a few radio antennae literally made out of cake pans. April 2020's discovery was also notable for being the most energetic radio blast that astronomers have recorded in the Milky Way. But what made it most exciting is that scientists are now closer to determining the origin of FRBs. They've been billions of light years away, making them a lot harder to study, but now there's one close by. Number 7. Mysterious signals from a distant galaxy. The CHIME Observatory found 13 FRBs, and among it was a very unusual repeating signal coming from the same source about 1.5 billion light years away. Such an event has only been reported once before by a different telescope. Knowing that there is another suggests that there could be more life out there, said Ingrid Stairs, an astrophysicist from the University of British Columbia. And with more repeaters and more sources available to study, we may be able to understand these cosmic puzzles, where they're from, and what causes them. The telescope detected 13 of the radio bursts almost immediately, including the repeater. The research has now been published in the journal Nature. We have discovered a second repeater, and its properties are very similar to the first repeater. This tells us more about the properties of the repeater as a population, said Sir Harsh Tendulkar of McGill University, Canada. Number 6. Star closest to the sun radio signal. An as yet unexplained radio signal appears to be coming from the direction of the star closest to the sun, a small red star roughly 4.2 light years away called Proxima Centauri. Adding to the excitement, at least 2 planets orbit this star, one of which might be a temperate and rocky like Earth. Breakthrough Listen, a decade-long search for alien broadcasts from the nearest million stars, was using Australia's Parkes Observatory Observatory to study Proxima Centauri when the team detected the signal, which they dubbed BLC-1. The radio waves were picked up in observations made between April and May 2019. While processing those observations in the summer, Shane Smith, an undergraduate from Hillside College in Michigan working with Breakthrough, spotted BLC-1 apparently radiating from the star. Although the signal is faint, BLC-1 passed all the tests the Breakthrough team uses to filter out millions of signals generated by humans. It was narrow in bandwidth, appeared to drift in frequency, and disappeared when the telescope shifted its gaze from Proxima to a different object. Over the following days, 4 similar signals appeared, although some have been ruled out as radio interference. It's pretty expected that every now and then you'll see something weird, but this is interesting because it's something that's weird and that we have to think about the next steps, says Sophia Skye, a graduate student at Pennsylvania State University and the Breakthrough team member leading the signal analysis. Number 5. Farthest radio signal from a galaxy. Astronomers using a radio telescope in India have captured the most distant ever radio signal from a galaxy. This signal came from a galaxy called SDSS J0826 plus 5630 that exists 8.8 billion light years away. That essentially means that it exists closer to the Big Bang than any other galaxy previously detected using radio astronomy. A galaxy emits different kinds of radio signals, said Arnab Chakraborty, a postdoctoral researcher who studies cosmology at the Department of Physics at McGill University in Montreal, Canada. Until now, it's only been possible to capture this particular signal from a galaxy nearby, limiting our knowledge to those galaxies closer to Earth. The researchers from both Montreal and India used the giant meter wave radio telescope in Pune, India, to capture the signal at a specific wavelength called the 21 centimeter line. The signal from the galaxy was emitted when the universe was only 4.9 billion years old, but because the universe is expanding, it took 8.8 billion years to reach the telescope. Wow. This breakthrough proves that it's possible to observe faraway galaxies using low-frequency radio telescopes. This will help us understand the composition of galaxies at a much greater distance from Earth, said Arnab. Number 4. Radio signal heartbeat. Astronomers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology have picked up repetitive radio signals from a galaxy billions of light years from Earth. Scientists have not been able to pinpoint the exact location of the radio waves yet, but the signals have been occurring steadily and last up to 3 seconds. Most fast radio bursts, or the FRBs, only last a few milliseconds. Within this window, the team detected bursts of radio waves that repeated every 0.2 seconds in a clear periodic pattern, similar to a beating heart, MIT said in a statement. On December 21, 2019, researcher at the Dominion Radio Astrophysical Observatory in British Columbia, Canada, picked up signal of a potential FRB, according to the MIT statement. Not only was it very long, lasting about 3 seconds, but there were periodic peaks that were remarkably precise, emitting every fraction of a second, boom boom boom, like a heartbeat, said Danielle Michelli, a postdoctoral researcher in the Massachusetts Institute of Technology's Calvi Institute for Astrophysics and Space Research. This is the first time the signal itself is periodic. Data on the bursts, including their frequency and how they change based on where the source is located in proximity to Earth, could help researchers determine at what speed the universe is expanding. Number 3. Bright, quick blasts of radio waves. Repeating bursts of energy seem to be coming from an ancient group of stars called a globular cluster, which is among the last places astronomers expected to find them. Often originating billions of light years away, the extremely bright, extremely brief bursts of radio waves, known as the fast radio bursts, have defied explanation since they were first spotted in 2007. Based on observations to date, scientists surmise that the bursts are powered by young, short-lived cosmic objects. But a fast radio burst discovered has now been traced to a globular cluster about 11.7 million light years away near the neighboring spiral galaxy M81. To put it in perspective, finding this burst among a cluster of aging stars is kind of like finding a smartphone embedded in the Stonehenge. The observation doesn't make sense. Brian Gainsler, an astronomer from the University of Toronto, said this is definitely not a place where fast radio bursts are expected to live. Scientists are struggling to explain the cosmic aneurism. They're also moving toward the conclusion that maybe, as with many other celestial phenomena, there are multiple ways to cook up a fast radio burst. Number 2. Bursts of energy. While mapping radio waves across the universe, astronomers found a celestial object releasing giant bursts of energy, unlike anything they have ever seen before. The spinning space object, spotted in March 2018, beamed out radiation 3 times per hour. In those moments, it became the brightest source of radio waves viewable from Earth, acting like a celestial lighthouse. A study on the discovery was published in the journal Nature. Lead study author Natasha Hurley-Walker, an astrophysicist at the Curtin University node of the International Center for Radio Astronomy Research, said this object was appearing and disappearing over a few hours during our observations. That was completely unexpected. It was kinda spooky for an astronomer because there's nothing known in the sky that does that, and it's really quite close to us, about 4,000 light years away. It's in our galactic backyard. Curtin University doctoral student Tyrone O'Doherty made the unusual discovery while using the Murchison-Wilford Array, aka the MWA telescope in the outback of Western Australia. Tyrone said, "It's exciting that the source I identified last year has turned out to be such a particular object. The MWA's wide field of view and extreme sensitivity are perfect for surveying the entire sky and detecting the unexpected." And coming in at number 1, the WOW signal. In 1997, astronomer Jerry Amen was researching at the Ohio State University when an incredible and unexplainable radio signal was detected using the school's Big Ear telescope. In those days, information was run through what was called an IBM 1130 mainframe computer before being printed on paper and then studied by hand. Upon reviewing his findings, Jerry came across something he had never seen before. There, in a vertical column, was the sequence 6EQUJ5. Jerry was amazed and immediately circled the sequence and wrote "wow" right beside it, hence the name. The signal they picked up had come from nearly 220 million light years away, and there was no explanation as to how or why a radio signal could be detected from that distance. It immediately became a sensation in both the science community and the rest of the world, and was used to support the search for alien life in the universe. Jerry himself says he's convinced that it certainly has the potential to be the first signal from extraterrestrial intelligence.
Starting us off in our number 10 spot is the backyard alien. In late April of this year, Las Vegas police officers investigated reports of 2 unknown entities falling from the sky. On the same night, a nearby resident called 911 to report something 100% not human on their property. A coincidence? The resident doesn't think so. According to authorities, a man called 911 to report 2 unknown entities in his backyard after he and his family saw a similar object fall from the sky. The man described the creature as 8 to 10 feet tall beings that appeared to be like aliens with big mouths, big shiny eyes, and added, once again, that they were 100% not human. They were looking right at him and his family from their backyard, and he kept clarifying that it was not a joke and that he was terrified of whatever was lurking in the dark. The department investigated the property for the days following the alleged paranormal incident before closing the case. But still, I can only imagine how terrified that man must have been. Let's just hope it doesn't return for more.
Number 9. Demi Lovato. Yes, that Demi Lovato, the singer, songwriter, and actress, has met aliens. Well, allegedly. Demi claims they were abducted by 3 space aliens and taken to a pink and purple planet. Demi appeared on the Kelly Clarkson show and said, "I woke up in my room and there were 3 beings. They asked, 'Do you want to see your planet?' I whooshed out of the room, I hovered before our planet, then whooshed to this pink and purple planet." Now, some people are skeptical that she made this up to promote the limited series streaming at Peacock, Unidentified with Demi Lovato, but if it is true, what an experience. Next up is Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker. The Pascagoula abduction was an UFO sighting and alien abduction in 1973, in which Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker claimed that they were abducted by aliens while fishing. On the evening of October 11th, 1973, 42-year-old Charles Hickson and 19-year-old Calvin Parker told the Jackson County, Mississippi Sheriff's Office that they were fishing off a pier on the west bank of the river when they heard a whirling/whizzing sound, saw two flashing blue lights, and observed an oval-shaped object 30 to 40 feet across and 8 to 10 feet high. They claimed they were conscious but paralyzed, while three creatures with robotic slit mouths and crab-like pincers took them aboard the object and subjected them to an examination.
Coming in at number 7, Men in Black. One of the most famous instances of alien invasion was the case of Dr. Albert Bender. Bender was a very intelligent researcher with an interest in aliens and UFOs, so much so that he wrote for a magazine called Space Review and even founded the International Flying Saucer Bureau. It started off very successfully. Bender began to gather lots of alleged evidence related to UFOs, but soon he began to see strange men watching him around his town, reportedly with glowing eyes. Bender wasn't too nervous about the strange phenomenon until one night in 1953 when 3 men in black showed up at his house. The mysterious men looked at first to be government agents, but he soon discovered they were something from a completely different realm. The men made it clear to Bender that he was to immediately stop all UFO research and investigation and to cease any publishing. They then confiscated most of his findings before threatening him once more and vanishing. Bender was so afraid of the experience that he immediately halted all publishings, quit ufology, and turned into a completely different man, terrified of the world and everything in it. Years later, he published a book about his experience with the Men in Black, and then went on to manage a motel and never touched extraterrestrial research ever again. Coming in at number 6, Whitley Strieber. On the night of December 26, 1985, Whitley Strieber was staying in his cabin when all of a sudden he was woken up by a strange noise. Then he saw this small, non-human entity approaching his bed, and next thing he knew, it was morning. Strieber was so confused he couldn't remember what the hell had happened to him exactly, but he knew it was something strange. According to Strieber, it was during a session of regressive hypnosis a few months later that some of the memories returned. According to Strieber, beings that he has since referred to as visitors entered his home and abducted him. But incredibly, that wasn't the only time. A few years later, while asleep in a hotel room, Strieber claimed to have been visited by another mysterious stranger. Quote, "I got up to open the door thinking it was the room service waiter. It was not. It was a man I described as about 5.5 feet tall, older looking, like someone in his 70s. He wore dark-colored clothing, a turtleneck, and charcoal slacks." Strieber claimed the visitor stood motionless by the window for nearly an hour, and that the two shared a deep conversation about the dangers of creating an intelligence more evolved than its creator. Strieber said it was the most extraordinary conversation he has ever had in his life.
Number 5. Antonio Villas-Boas. On October 16, 1957, at night, Antonio Villas-Boas was plowing fields when he saw what he described as a red star in the night sky that approached him, growing in size. The craft began descending to land in the field, and he decided to leave. Smart choice. He first attempted to leave the scene in his tractor, but the lights and engine died, so he decided to continue on foot. However, he was seized by a 5-foot-tall humanoid who was wearing gray coveralls and a helmet. Its eyes were small and blue, and instead of speech, it made noises like barks or yelps. 3 similar beings then joined, and they dragged him inside the craft. Once inside the craft, Antonio said that he was stripped of his clothes and covered from head to toe with a strange gel. He was then led into a large semicircular room through a doorway that had strange red symbols written all over it. They then took blood from him and took him to a third room where some kind of gas was pumped into the room, which made him violently ill. Shortly after this, Antonio was joined in the room by another humanoid. This one, however, was female, very attractive and naked, and the two had sexual intercourse. Antonio was then given back his clothing and taken a tour of the ship by the humanoids. He was then escorted off the ship and watched it as it took off, glowing brightly. When he returned home, he discovered that only 4 hours had passed.
Coming in at number 4, Audrey and Debbie Hewins. When twins Audrey and Debbie Hewins were young, the pair shared a bedroom, and they not only claimed that aliens exist, but that alien abductions do too, and they've experienced them. Audrey claims the alien visitations began when they were young, and that a bright blue light would come into the room. The door would open, and there would be a foggy mist of blue light shining through the whole house. Then, 2 figures would enter their room, and these 2 figures would come in. The sisters claim they were often together on the abductions, and while they have bits and pieces of memory they have worked hard to decipher, the aliens are very good at trying to wipe your brain clean of any recollection of the extraterrestrial events. Most terrifying though is that according to Audrey, not only were they routinely abducted well into adulthood, but that both her and her sister were used for experiments. Audrey says that while she was initially hesitant to come forward, after a non-human entity saved her from drowning in the ocean, she was inspired to dedicate her life to openly discussing her alien abduction experiences.
Elizabeth Clare. Elizabeth Clare was a South African woman who, starting in 1956, publicly claimed to have been contacted by aliens multiple times between 1954 and 1963. Her first visitation supposedly occurred when she was just 7 years old, and she was one of the first women to claim having a sexual relationship with an extraterrestrial. She promoted an idea of a better world and beliefs in a cosmic consciousness. In her book Beyond the Light Barrier, she strived to convey a message of peace, love, understanding, and environmentalism, which she credited to the superior wisdom of an advanced and immaculately utopian Venusian civilization. She also ended up promoting conspiracy theories of an international cover-up that kept vital information from the public and claimed to have been threatened with abduction to press her into revealing details about alien technology. And coming in at number 2, we have Travis Walton. On November 5th, 1975, Travis Walton was abducted by aliens and didn't return for 5 whole days. Travis's abduction began after working in Site-Greaves National Forest near Heber, Arizona. Travis and a 6-man group of loggers were returning home when they allegedly spotted a shiny disc spanning 40 feet in diameter hovering in the sky above them. He said it was a metallic glowing disc making some very strange sounds. The closer I got to it, the more scared we all got, and they were swearing at me to get away from there, and when I got close, it suddenly got louder and started to move. Travis then claimed that non-human beings abducted him and experimented on him until he fought them off. But as the beings purportedly poked and prodded him on a kind of table, 5 days elapsed on Earth where Walton was officially declared missing. I became conscious inside the craft and I believed I was in the hospital, he said. I was in a lot of pain, and as I became more conscious, I looked around and I saw alien beings and I just panicked. They were much smaller than me, and I think that's the reason they gave up. Once they found they couldn't control me, they split. Later research conducted that the site of Travis's abduction showed an unusual growth rate in the trees where the craft had allegedly hovered. The trees near the site were found to be producing wood fiber at a rate of 36 times greater than they had decades before.
And last up in our number 1 spot today, Terrell Copeland. A former US Marine, Copeland claimed that his first experience with aliens occurred in 2007 when he captured footage of what he believed to be a UFO on his cell phone from his apartment. Copeland says that he knew what he was witnessing was extraterrestrial in nature, but wasn't too concerned until he published the footage online. That's when things really became strange. Copeland details that the invasion happened when he was woken up by the sound of someone trying to enter his apartment. "Who is it?" he asked, but there was no answer. Still, he could see the knob was moving and something scratching on the other side of the door. He had the thought to grab his weapon, but as soon as he thought about it, he realized he was paralyzed and unable to move. That's when he heard a voice come from the other side of the door saying, "You don't need that weapon. We won't harm." Following that, Copeland began to experience missing hours, incapable of accounting for 4 waking hours during a span of 2 nights. So he began to keep a log of notes, and that is when the memories surfaced. Copeland claims, quote, "I was in a room and I saw a woman who did not have complete human features. She had the typical black eyes that you hear about. She had an elongated skull, and that startled me. And the next memory I have is me standing on my balcony waving at this cylinder-shaped ship."
Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have
have organic material. In an anonymous video, there was a point that was made about something that we are actually now watching happen in real time, and that is the mission to Mars for the Perseverance rover that is currently there digging around in the soil. The video stated that Mars may hold signs of an ancient environment that may have been favorable to microbial life. Well, that is exactly true, and the reason the rover is there at all. While Mars' thin atmosphere is unable to shield that planet from the high amounts of radiation coming from space now, it is thought that the atmosphere did once act as a better shield, and that the environment of Mars may have once been a great host for life, which is exactly why this mission is so important. This is all interesting because when this anonymous video was first released, it was still years away from the Perseverance mission actually taking place. But now, just a few months ago in September of 2022, there was a huge announcement made in this search for alien life. Recently, the rover has been searching at the site of an ancient river delta, trying to find any clues that might give us insight into the past lives of the planet, and that is when it made its most important discovery so far. A few recently collected samples have been confirmed to include organic matter. This means that the Jezero crater, which likely was once the home to a lake that the delta emptied into, well, it would have potentially had a habitable environment about 3.5 billion years ago. These organic molecules are supremely important because they represent the building blocks of life, like carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And while this discovery doesn't just flat out confirm the past existence of life on the planet, it is one of the strongest clues we've ever received, which is absolutely unbelievable. In our number 9 spot today, we have the planetary system. In an anonymous video, whoever the person is speaking, they draw attention to a nearby star called TRAPPIST-1. The video didn't go too much into detail about this, but I'm here to do that now, so we can all know what they're talking about. While TRAPPIST-1 is a star, the revelation that the video spoke about was that this star has an entire solar system of Earth-like planets. This discovery first came in 2017, and upon further research in 2018, it was revealed that some of the planets just may harbor even more water than Earth does. Some of the planets are a little too close to the star, so the water is more atmospheric water vapor. The ones in the middle have liquid water like us, and the furthest ones have ice. TRAPPIST-1 is now the most thoroughly known planetary system apart from ours, which is kinda cool. While the anonymous video made it seem like there was a full-blown advanced alien civilization living in this solar system, there still might be potential for some form of microbial life that we just haven't quite found yet, and that is very cool. You know, we gotta start somewhere. Microbial life first, little green dudes next. In our number 8 spot today, we have cyanobacteria. For around 2 decades, Dr. Richard Hoover has been studying meteorites that were found in Antarctica, and in 2011 he claimed that he and his team had found evidence of ancient bacteria from colonies that thrived on comets, moons, and other planets. The astrobiologist said that they were able to make this discovery through the use of the most advanced microscanning technology in the entire world. Dr. Hoover sliced open these meteorites and discovered what they call the remains of cyanobacteria, also known as blue-green algae. This type of algae is said to have a unique quality and the ability to thrive even in some of the harshest conditions, which is necessary when talking about surviving the extreme environment some other planets hold, as well as just space in general. Dr. Hoover said that while some of the bacteria he had found was similar to those on Earth, he said that some of the others were completely alien. He said, quote, "Neither I nor other experts who have seen the evidence have any idea what these creatures might be. I believe these findings indicate that life is not restricted to Earth, but is broadly distributed even outside our solar system." In our number 7 spot today, we have the FBI documents. One self-proclaimed member of Anonymous took to the internet to discuss some important FBI documents that are apparently unclassified, just sitting there on the website waiting for people to take a look at their contents. The video claims that the document suggests that we've not only been visited by aliens from space, but also beings from other dimensions. The video does explain that the document didn't originate from within the FBI and rather from a university head, but that the FBI treated the document with the utmost importance, which is certainly interesting. It is also very important to note, however, that this document was sent in 1947. Not sure if that makes the claims more or less likely or or credible, but the timing of it definitely seems important, at least to me. While this is one of the things that you have to draw your own conclusions from, in the video it is mentioned that while we are arguing whether or not supposed UFO or alien sightings have really taken place here on Earth or in space, there are real instances of extraterrestrial beings visiting us, but we're just too focused on the debate to open our eyes and see for ourselves. In our number 6 spot today, we have the light shifts. In the latter half of 2015, a Penn State astronomer named Jason Wright explained that there were pretty erratic and spontaneous shifts in the light that was coming from a newly discovered star. The star sits about 1,280 light years away from us on Earth, and these shifts were very similar to as if something was passing in front of our view of the star briefly before passing through. Scientists weren't able to connect this to any exoplanets or anything like that, which we could understand, and this is what led Jason to quite an interesting theory. He stated that it is possible that the shifts are caused by massive objects passing in front of the star in a kind of orbit, like an array of massive satellites or a similar kind of structure, like the type of thing that could be produced by an intelligent and civilized life form. Again, like many things, it's just a theory, but a very compelling one at that. In our number 5 spot today, we have the 2023 sighting. The sign of alien life is in the form of a video, and this video was taken very recently on January 22nd this year, 2023. The video was posted to Reddit by a user called MaxKeller96, and with the video they gave some context. Quote, "My sister, dad, and I were out hiking near Picket Post when one of us noticed something glimmering near the mountain, so we stopped to look at it. All I could really make out is that it was a small bright dot in the sky. After a good 15 seconds of staring at it just silently hanging in the air trying to figure out WTF it was, I started recording. Sorry it's shaky AF, I could barely see my phone screen and was trying to get a good look at it with my own eyes. It then dropped 2 flare looking things, though my sister swears she counted at least 3, and then it instantly sped off, heading southish. Up until that point I thought it might have been a helicopter or a drone, as there's a lot of military Air Force base stuff out here, but there is no effing way anything can accelerate that fast. We all lost sight of it nearly instantly after the video cuts, and we were all properly freaked the F out about it. I've replayed the video probably 100 times and tried showing it to everyone I know, and no one had any idea what it could be other than a super high-end drone. If you think you know, please let me know." After watching the video also probably 100 times, I can definitely say that I had no idea what they saw that day, because I also really don't think it's a drone. Also, I just have to say that this video even gathered people together on Reddit. And that's no easy feat. Redditors are ruthless and often very skeptical, and still people are pretty on board and confused over what this could have been. In our number 4 spot today, we have the etheric planet. There is a claim that not only have we been visited by some sort of extraterrestrial beings, but that these beings that have apparently been visiting us are coming not from a planet as we think of it, but rather some sort of etheric planet that interpenetrates with our own, but we're just unable to perceive. Apparently, if you're a student of esoteric matters, these concepts will make a lot more sense to you, or so this anonymous video claims. These alien beings are apparently able to make a conscious decision to enter our plane, and in that same respect they are able to make a decision to disappear from our view. They are visiting us as they are thinking about settling here on our plane, and that they are coming here peacefully. During these visits they are also said to have technology that would destroy any sort of attack made on them, so it is advised that if they make themselves visible to us, we do not attack or make them feel threatened. I'm not so sure about this one, but at the end of the day I am certainly no student of esoteric matters, so maybe it's just something that my brain cannot comprehend with the knowledge I currently have, you know? I'm on one plane, I gotta get on another level. In our number 3 spot today, we have the witness testimony. Speaking of alien visits, another person that Anonymous pointed out as a good source to listen to was a man named Dr. Brian O'Leary, who is a former NASA astronaut and Princeton physics professor. Apparently, he stated that there is abundant evidence that we are being contacted, that civilizations have been monitoring us for a very long time, and that their appearance is bizarre from any type of traditional, materialistic Western point point of view. He also apparently said that these visitors use the technologies of consciousness, they use droids, they use co-rotating magnetic discs for their propulsion systems, which seems to be a common denominator of the UFO phenomenon. I obviously have no idea how I could possibly substantiate these claims, but they certainly are interesting regardless of what you personally believe. This could, of course, just be nonsense in order to stir up the masses, but it could also be someone who's finally telling us all the truth, but maybe we're just a little too skeptical to listen. In our number 2 spot today, we have Enceladus. This small moon is often referenced when people begin to discuss the possibilities of alien life, and for fair reason. It was discovered that this moon has hydrothermal processes going on underneath its crust. To us non-scientists, that means next to nothing, but what if I said that that means that it just might have all of the requirements for life, and that it is becoming a greater possibility that we might actually find microbial life there. Basically, this moon has an icy shell for a surface and then a rocky interior, but between these two layers is a warm ocean, and this ocean is where scientists think life is most likely to be. This discovery came almost accidentally when the Cassini orbiter arrived to Saturn in 2005, and it found water plumes shooting out of the cracks in the surface of the moon, which made scientists realize that it just may be geologically active. Through more research, and by flying the orbiter through the water, by the time 2015 rolled around, scientists knew that it was holding all of the keys to life. While this moon was never the original focus of research, it quickly took over with its very exciting potential. In our number 1 spot today, we have the Venus cloud. A couple years ago, in September of 2020, astrobiologists everywhere were excited and skeptical of some new potential evidence that had been found in the upper clouds of Venus. The new findings were pointing to the potential of the presence of phosphine in these clouds. Phosphine is a rare and usually poisonous gas that on Earth is basically always met with the presence of living organisms. Venus hasn't really been the top of the list of choices for finding potential life due to its surface temperature and pressure and the sulfuric acid clouds, but this evidence could prove to say something otherwise. 2 separate telescopes were able to pick up the signatures of phosphine in a cloud that had a similar temperature and pressure to Earth, and while this isn't concrete evidence of space bugs, it will at least be a reminder that we should be continuing to look for life, even in the most unlikely places. And hey, maybe it is space bugs. I don't know.
Alright, we're starting off this list with a recent discovery of possible hidden structures on the far side of the moon. Now, this isn't necessarily scary, it's just kinda cool, but who doesn't like cool stuff, right? Scientists have examined data from China's Chang'e 4 lunar satellite, which is exploring the far side of the moon. By using ground-penetrating radar, they have detected echoes beneath the lunar surface, possibly indicating hidden underground structures. The anomalies that have been spotted suggest there could be a series of networks and tunnels or lava tubes underneath the moon's exterior. These subsurface formations could offer shielding against temperature fluctuations and cosmic radiation, making them good options for future human habitation on the moon, because, who wouldn't want to leave the luscious forests and bright blue sky right here on Earth to go live in tunnels deep beneath a dark, desolate, rocky mass. Number 9, the strange substance. China's U-2 rover, a part of the Chang'e 4's mission, discovered an unusual gel-like substance on the far side of the moon. The rover came across this material in the von Karman crater. It was found within a small impact crater, with the substance's appearance and color standing out from the surrounding lunar soil. The discovery was made during the rover's exploration of the lunar surface using its visible and near-infrared spectrometer, or VNIS. But as to what the substance is, we're still not 100% certain. Several possibilities were proposed by scientists, including the idea that it could be melted glass formed by the heat of a meteorite impact, or it might be linked to the moon's volcanic activity. The U-2 rover had been active since early 2019, conducting various scientific observations on that far side of the moon. Number 8. The Mystery Cube. In 2021, China's U-2 rover was traversing the moon when it spotted this far off in the distance, this image here. People were pretty confused when this image was released, saying it looked like there was some kind of hut or cube on the surface of the moon. For a while, we weren't sure what this object was. Was it an alien spacecraft? Was it some kind of ancient shack? A monolith, similar to the one in 2001, A Space Odyssey, perhaps? I do hate to disappoint you all, but the answer is far less fantastical than all those wild ideas. On closer inspection, it turned out that this mysterious cube was nothing but a rock. It's a moon rock, so it's still something. It's apparently really huge too, but not a highly advanced space cube. In fact, it wasn't even in the shape of a cube at all, but for a while, people's imaginations were acting up. And we're back to China's Yutu-2 rover again with another discovery. This time, 2 mysterious glass spheres were spotted on the far side of the moon. These objects stuck out like a sore thumb as they glistened against the dry, dusty landscape of the moon's surface. It was an odd find because the objects looked perfectly spherical. They almost looked like a pair of large glass candle holders, at least to me anyway. Scientists aren't sure exactly how these formed, but they hypothesize they could have been created from a high-speed impact with a meteorite. Number 6. The UFO. This incident occurred on the Apollo 16 mission, NASA's 5th successful trip to the moon. After the Apollo 16 mission, astronauts John Young, Thomas Mattingly, and Charles Duke were beginning their return trip when they captured about 4 seconds of footage, and in it they spotted whatever this is. It appears to be a saucer-like object hovering above the moon. Looks like a UFO to me, like a classic UFO, I might add. Looks like something right out of a 1950s B-movie, and it's got that dome shape. The footage was shot with a 16mm motion picture camera, shooting at 12 frames per second from a command service module window. I've always wanted to have a UFO experience, and going to space, also a dream. Be a little bit scary, but I still want to do it. So, I don't know, spotting something like this while on a return trip from the moon, I would just never be able to stop talking about it. I very much want the world of Star Trek to be a reality, so seeing an alien spacecraft, that's a step in the right direction, unless they mean to do us harm, but I don't like to think about that. Next up, we have alien bases. So Scott Waring is an extraterrestrial researcher, self-proclaimed. He's definitely an enthusiast, though. He's made some pretty bold claims about the presence of alien life, including moon-related stuff. He has tons of videos zooming into craters on the moon, spotting strange shapes that he describes looking like structures or crafts of some kind, too out of place to be natural rock formations. He's claimed that many of the structures he's spotted have conveniently disappeared on subsequent scans of Google Moon, which, according to him, points to the fact that some of these things are being erased in order to hide the truth from the public. One of his finds is this strange shape here, though, found on the far side of the moon in the Zeeman crater. Certainly an interesting formation. It looks to be perfectly rectangular, almost like it could be an entrance to some sort of underground base, which is exactly what he and other conspiracy theorists believe it to be. What do you think, though? Is this just a natural formation, a case of paranoia, or could this actually be some sort of alien or man-made structure? Pareidolia, by the way. Is it a case of pareidolia, not paranoia? Anyway. And that's going to bring us to number 4 with the alien craft. This is another strange image that Scott Waring pointed out. Between Von Karman and Davison crater, it lies this. Waring believes that this is an extraterrestrial spacecraft. Writing on his blog, I found this structure in the center of a crater on Earth's moon. The structure closely resembles a ship from the Transformers movie. The craft is triangular in shape, but with a lot of odd bulges. The object is very shiny, more so than anything in its surrounding area, which tells me it's metallic. He went on to say, I feel this craft may still be salvageable and possibly could be used to transport humans to other planets in the Milky Way. So Scott certainly gathered a lot of info from this image of a rock. I mean, an alien spacecraft, sorry. But he is an extraterrestrial researcher, after all. All I can say is, I'd love it if you were right, but that just looks like a rock to me. It's a cool looking rock. It's got some nifty grooves in it, and kind of spaceship looking in shape, maybe, but I'm not sold on it. I don't know. What do you all think, though? And number 3, we have moon dust. Now, this is found all over the moon, not just on the far side, but it is pretty dangerous and, might I say, terrifying. Moon dust, also known as lunar regolith, is a fine powdery substance covering the moon's surface. It's composed of tiny particles created by the impact of meteoroids over billions of years. And now the thing is, it's called dust, but it's not as innocuous as the dust we have here on Earth. Moon dust is sharp, it's abrasive, and it's highly reactive due to the lack of weathering and erosion on the moon. It clings to equipment, which could potentially cause damage to spacesuits, spacecraft, and machinery. Inhaling or ingesting moon dust would be absolutely hazardous to human health, as it causes like respiratory and other health issues. Not that you'd be breathing without a helmet on the moon anyway, but it does pose a challenge for maintaining equipment and could lead to mechanical failures. And during the Apollo missions, astronauts reported difficulties with moon dust sticking to their spacesuits, which raised concerns about potential long-term health risks. And at second place, we have the castle. This image here was taken on an Apollo mission. Gotta say, pretty weird. Now, just like with a lot of other stuff on this list, this could just be a case of pareidolia, but it really does look like some sort of structure. There appear to be 3 support columns holding up some kind of tower. Another interesting part about this thing is that it's much brighter than the surrounding area, although that could just be a trick of the lights. I really try not to let my imagination get too out of control looking at stuff like this, because I just really want there to be definitive proof of alien life, but I think it's important to keep a level head and look at this stuff objectively. So I'm just throwing it out there to you guys, see what you all think. Once again, what are your thoughts on this? That's what the comments are for. And coming in at number 1, we have transient lunar phenomenon. Transient lunar phenomenon, or TLP for short, are unexplained and temporary changes observed on the surface of the moon. The strange phenomena has intrigued astronomers for centuries. One common TLP involves the sudden appearance of glowing or like colored patches on the moon, which can last for minutes or even hours before fading away. Scientists have proposed a number of theories to explain these weird glowing shapes, but none have been fully confirmed. One hypothesis suggests that outgassing, the release of gas from beneath the moon's surface, might be responsible. This gas could escape because of geological activity or meteorite impacts. The energy released from the impact of a meteorite could create a temporary glow or eject material that reflects sunlight. But this theory doesn't account for the duration and the varied nature of TLP. And some TLP reports date back to the 18th century, and they're hard to study because they're so unpredictable. We don't really just know when it's going to flare up. Astronomers are using advanced technology to try and document and explain what's going on here, but at this point, we still don't know.
Number 10. 2 white lights. Okay, so this didn't happen in the States, but Canada. And all I'm saying is that Biden could get some info out of Mr. Trudeau if he really wanted to. On January 29th, 2023, Canadian air traffic controllers and pilots couldn't identify 2 white lights moving in a circular pattern reported over Canada's Northwest Territories. Good evening, just wondering, do you got 2 planes that are just to the east of your field doing circuits or maneuvers? A crew member aboard the Canadian North flight headed to Yellowknife asked their traffic controllers. Negative, I have no reported traffic in the area, the Yellowknife air traffic controller replied. Do you have a visual on something? The crew responded somewhat hesitantly, yeah, we're looking at 2 lights dancing around here to the east of your field. They're above us, about I don't know what. We're not seeing them on TCAS, traffic collision avoidance system, but we can see the lights moving around. Then there's a pause before the crew member radios back to say, we're not crazy. No, we believe you, the air traffic controller replies, and the sighting remains unexplained. I need answers, people. Why are there just 2 random lights in the sky? Number 9. Over New Mexico. On February 21st, 2021, a pilot flying over New Mexico at an altitude of 37,000 feet reported seeing a long cylindrical object that almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast over the top of them, according to the published audio. American Airlines confirmed that the radio transmission came from Flight 2292. The FAA a few days later stated a pilot reported seeing an object over New Mexico shortly after noon local time on Sunday, February 21st, 2021. FAA air traffic controllers did not see any object in the area on their radar scopes. Seems like air traffic control can never see see these objects, but the pilots can, and I can't tell if that's better or worse. Number 8. Shot down object over Alaska. On February 10th, 2023, aka like a month ago, the US military shot down an unidentified airborne object over northeastern Alaska. US officials said they believed the object to be a balloon, but couldn't confirm it since it broke into pieces after hitting the ocean, the New York Times reported. How convenient. News outlets owned by the Chinese Communist Party said Biden's response has shown the world how immature and irresponsible the US has been in dealing with this case. Oof, even other people are criticizing him. Number 7. Shot down object over Lake Huron. On February 12, 2023, just 2 days later, a US F-16 jet shot down an unidentified object over Lake Huron. An octagonal object with strings hanging from it was detected over northern Montana, Wisconsin, and the upper peninsula of Michigan at 20,000 feet. This was believed to be the same object tracked over Montana and monitored by the government the night before. Melissa Dalton, Assistant Defense Secretary of Homeland Defense, and General Glenn Venherk, head of U.S. North Command, say officials could not definitively assess what the objects were, so they acted out of an abundance of caution to protect U.S. security and interest. These most recent objects did not pose a military threat, but their path and proximity to sensitive DoD sites and the altitude that they were flying could be a hazard to civilian aviation and thus raise concerns, Melissa said. Operations are underway with multiple agencies, including the Coast Guard, to gather the object's remains and determine where it came from, they added. And when or if they figure out what it is, I wonder if they'll actually tell us. Probably not though. Number 6. Rosemount UFOs. A man living in Rosemount said he encountered a similar UFO on 4 separate occasions. On August 4th, 2017, the man was near his Rosemount home when he saw what he described as a black object with bright orange lights coming from the craft and flying over the area. Nearly a month later, on September 6, 2017, he saw 3 crafts with the same description hovering above downtown Rosemont. 2 days later, a singular craft returned to Inver Grove Heights, and he spotted the craft one last time on March 12, 2018. The man took photos or videos for each of the events and submitted it to the Mutual UFO Network. Seems like these aliens could have been stalking him, which I think is even more creepy. Number 5. Navy pilots. Recently, 2 former Navy pilots were interviewed by 60 Minutes on CBS News about a UFO sighting over the Pacific Ocean in 2004. Commander Dave Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich spotted the unidentified object during a training exercise, but were unable to classify it. Dave described it as a little white tic-tac looking object, adding that it lacked conventional exhaust plumes and had no wings or visible markings. It also moved erratically, the pilot said. In an interview with NBC News, Dave described the 2004 encounter, calling the object the strangest, most obscure thing I've ever seen flying. As soon as we look down, we see the white water, and then we see this little white tic-tac. It's pointing north-south, and it's just going forward, back, left, right, he said, adding that it was bouncing around like a ping-pong ball. Dave said he approached the mysterious object to take a closer look, and it began mirroring his movements. Then, when the pilot decided to get within half a mile of the UFO, it suddenly vanished. I'm surprised the government even let them do this interview, but my question is, if he did get closer, what were they gonna do? Wave hi to the aliens? Number 4. Multiple objects in the sky. Ryan Graves, a former Navy pilot who testified that he witnessed unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAP, with his own eyes, and he called on President Joe Biden to investigate the mysterious objects spotted in American airspace. Ryan, a former fighter pilot, explained that after 2014, when upgrades were made to our radar system, our squadron made a startling discovery. There were unknown objects in our airspace. And these were not mere balloons like the Chinese spy balloon that dominated the country's attention in February. These were no mere balloons. They could hold their position, appearing motionless, despite Category 4 hurricane force winds of 120 knots. They did not have any visible means to lift or control surfaces. In other words, nothing that resembled normal aircraft with wings, flaps, or engines. These are not isolated incidents, Ryan said. We have a real UFO problem, and it's not balloons. The point is that we don't have as clear as an understanding of what's above our heads as we thought we did. There are uncertainties up there that we have to deal with. If we don't do it, our adversaries are going to take advantage of that uncertainty, that weakness, to spy on us with various means, as we've seen. It's pretty clear. If there are things over our head that we're not sure what they are, we need to figure it out. If they're adversarial, it's a national security issue. We have mechanisms for that. If it's not a national security issue, and if it's not an adversarial platform, then it's a matter for scientific inquiry. Not gonna lie, this scares me a little. Number 3. Leaked video. A leaked Navy video captured in July 2019 showed a sphere-shaped unidentified object flying over water near San Diego. The footage obtained by documentary filmmaker and shared with NBC News appeared to show the mysterious object flying for a few minutes before disappearing into the water. The video was captured by a Navy aircraft and recorded in the USS Alma's Combat Information Center, according to filmmaker Jeremy Corbell. The clip appeared to show a spherical object flying above the water for a few minutes near San Diego before it just vanishes. It splashed, military personnel can be heard saying in the video. The Defense Department confirmed that the clip was recorded by Navy personnel and said that it will be reviewed by the Pentagon's Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, a panel established last year to gain insight into the nature and origins of such objects. Number 2. You saw something you shouldn't. In 2008, a large aircraft hovered above Stevensville, Texas. Many people in the community saw it, and according to the Mutual UFO Network, a pilot named Steve Allen reported that the unusual aircraft was flying at an estimated 3,000 miles per hour and was being chased by fighter jets. Then a man named Rick Sorrell said he saw the same thing while hunting. Later, Rick said a strange man knocked on his door and said, "Son, we have the same caliber weapons you have, but we have more of them. You need to shut your mouth about what you saw." Creepy. Was this the Men in Black, people from their government, or real aliens? Who knows, but if that happened to me, I think I'd move out of state. And coming in at number 1 is the Pentagon. The Pentagon's new Office for Investigating Potential UFO Sightings received hundreds of news reports in 2022, and while it can explain more than half of these events, a sizable chunk remains a mystery. Within the new batch of sightings, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office and the Office of Director of National Intelligence say they're focusing on some 171 cases, including some in which objects appear to have demonstrated unusual flight characteristics or performance capabilities and require further analysis. Since it was formed last summer, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office has received 366 reports of unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAP. That total reflects 247 new UAP reports and another 119 that occurred between March 2021 but hadn't been included in an earlier report. The new numbers indicate a steep rise in UAP sightings. The report released in June 2021 listed just 144 reports covering a 17-year period. With the subsequent additions, 510 UAP reports were in their files at the end of August 2022. Officials say they believe the rise in UAP reports is due to the US government efforts to destigmatize the topic of UAP and instead recognize the potential risk the phenomenon poses, both as an aviation hazard and potential adversarial activity, such as foreign surveillance efforts. I don't know though, it seems like they're really starting to believe in aliens to me.
At number 10, the Anita experiment, the scientific discovery that proves the existence of parallel universes. Now, okay, this one isn't technically aliens per se, but I wanted to mention it first because not only is it real, but come on, what's more exciting? Extraterrestrial visitors or extra-dimensional ones? Huh? Imagine a remote research station in Antarctica where scientists diligently hunt for cosmic rays. Now that's intriguing on its own, but it gets even better. See, naturally they had their instruments facing the sky, but then these researchers suddenly detect not one, but 2 signals shooting out of the ground beneath them, defying all logic. See, these rays of neutrinos are supposed to come from supernova, so it's highly improbable that the rays are passing through the Earth without coming into contact with a single particle of matter, only to land land on a tiny weather balloon in the sky. To make sense of this, scientists dived into over 40 papers offering a buffet of explanations. Dark matter, elusive particles called sterile neutrinos, and then, the grandest of them all, a parallel universe, essentially a mirror image of ours, but where time runs backwards. Imagine that! This audacious idea isn't pulled out of thin air either. It's rooted in actual science, a theorem which hints that alongside our universe, an antimatter universe stretches backward through time before the Big Bang. But let's tap the brakes here, because a more down-to-earth theory has surfaced. That's right, hold your antimatter horses, because it turns out it's more likely that these signals were simply reflected off of ice or skipped off subglacial lakes. The truth, it seems, is more grounded, reflecting high-energy particles, not parallel dimensions. Sorry, y'all. I mean, unless you want to go ahead and put away Occam's razor. But before I do, if you're enjoying the video so far, you can support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Most Amazing, and ringing that notification bell. At number 9, alien fossils. Back in 1996, NASA dropped a bombshell. Well, not literally. They stumbled upon a meteorite from Mars right there on our very own Antarctica. This space wanderer, a potato-shaped piece of Martian real estate, harbored something truly astonishing, a fossilized microbe. That's like finding a cosmic postcard in your backyard. This meteorite most likely embarked on a 15 million year journey across our solar neighborhood before cozying up on Earth. Now, let's dig deeper. The rock didn't just bring this Martian visitor, it also packed organic molecules. But before we declare aliens, bear in mind that this is an ongoing debate in the scientific arena. Some argue that this is a smoking pew-pew of extraterrestrial existence, while skeptics keep their feet firmly on Earth. What's your take on this otherworldly puzzle? At number 8 is the frozen ancient civilization. Enter Corey Good, a name synonymous with the clandestine narrative that spirals deep beneath the Antarctic ice. The year was 2017 when Good's voice resonated through the annals of conspiratorial discourse, asserting that a buried treasure lay beneath 2 miles of frigid ice, an ancient alien civilization, frozen in time. But let's rewind to 1939, a German expedition that allegedly stumbled upon this enigma. Fast forward to 2002, and the site begrudgingly opened its icy gate to scientists and archaeologists. What's captivating is Gode's own voyage, facilitated by the US Air Force, to witness the fabled civilization. A civilization that was rumored to be standing 55,000 years in Earth's past. This story leaves us yearning for forthcoming years to yield more insights into these Antarctic enigmas. At number 7, the Antarctic Pyramids. In 2016, rumors of pyramid-like mountains circulated the internet, capturing the imaginations of many. Could it be a creation of ancient civilizations, or perhaps, cue the dramatic pause, evidence of ancient extraterrestrial intervention? This square-based pyramid is perched upon the Ellsworth Range, standing around 4,000 feet tall. That's like 10 times the size of the pyramids of Giza. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Or should I say, tip of the pyramid? Reports of plant and bacterial life dating back eons also have come to light, suggesting that maybe, just maybe, a prehistoric, or should I say pre-human society once grazed this frigid expanse, crafting not only pyramids but also tending to the vegetation. Bam! Proof of ancient aliens. Or just a neat geological formation. I'll let y'all decide in the comments. At number 6, Admiral Byrd's Crystal City. Esteemed US naval officer Admiral Richard Byrd was one of the first pilots to fly over both poles, organizing Operation High Jump, the largest expedition to ever travel to Antarctica with all kinds of ships, aircraft, and crew in order to scout locations for potential military bases. But during his explorations, Admiral Byrd allegedly came upon something highly unexpected. The following comes not from a public account, but from his own diary, discovered by his son after Byrd's passing, in which he recounts an extraordinary discovery. Upon encountering a large cave in the South Pole through which he could easily fly his plane, Byrd steers his plane into the opening and flew underneath the Earth. As he flies within the massive cave, he encroaches upon an incredibly temperate and lush environment. Not something you'd expect in the South Pole. But that's just the beginning. He tells about how he sees a shimmering rainbow city made out of crystal. Suddenly he loses control of his plane as flying disc-shaped objects lead him to the ground, whereupon he's escorted to a being which he refers to as the Master in his diary, who tells Byrd that it's massively disappointed with nuclear weapons and how they've recently destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, seeming to really be concerned with what's going on the surface, telling Byrd that these aliens hope humanity will ultimately stop this. At number 5, a UFO is discovered. In October of 2020, satellite images of Antarctica unveiled a peculiar sight. Amidst the icy expanse, an object resembling a semicircular flying saucer emerged, slightly elevated and casting a telltale shadow. believed by some to be an ancient aircraft dating back thousands if not millions of years. The notion of aliens opting for this secluded spot brims with intrigue. However, before we leap into intergalactic conclusions, it's essential that we exercise caution. While this image sparks conjecture, we do lack conclusive evidence about its origin or purpose. At number 4 is the alien base. If this next story is to be believed, there's allegedly a secret alien base with advanced and unconventional weapons hidden in the icy waters of the Antarctic. According to a video uploaded by UFO hunters, a mysterious anomaly about 180 kilometers off the coast of Antarctica has been spotted. They speculate that it's not just some kind of hangar for a spaceship, but that actual aliens might be residing there too. Now this may veer toward the conspiracy side rather than urban legend, but hey, it's all in good fun. Some believers are advocating for an expedition to confirm the existence of these aliens, while others voice concerns about potentially sparking an intergalactic war if we're not careful. So whatever it is, let's just hope we tread carefully. At number 3, the Kraken. The Kraken is a legendary maritime menace straight from the annals of Scandinavian folklore, a colossal cephalopod-like creature feared for its ship-swallowing antics and sailor-dragging tendencies. But could this creature of nautical nightmares actually be an alien? Yeah, you heard me right. A Reddit user named Bavin Hunter has set their investigative sights on Google Earth, claiming that they spot what appears to be a Kraken near Deception Island in Antarctica. Quite the ironic location, I must say. They suggest that this dark spot lurking in the depths might just be this mystical monster. Granted, we've got some real-life cephalopods that can stir the imagination, but they're not exactly Kraken-sized. Or maybe it's a cryptic alien being lurking beneath the icy depths. At number 2, alien DNA. Traces of potential alien DNA were discovered in the Antarctic, a mind-boggling revelation that recently shook the scientific community regarding DNA traces found beyond the depths of certain Antarctic caverns. Algae DNA, intertwined with fragments from minute creatures, paints a picture of potential alien origin. Though no immediate creatures were unearthed, this discovery opens portals to speculation. Could Antarctica, once deemed a barren expanse, have teemed with diverse life forms? For life here are akin to an extraterrestrial habitat, hinting at hidden chambers harboring unexpected life. Warmth emanating from beneath the icy veneer adds to the intrigue, making it plausible for life to have gained a foothold here. At number 1 is the crashed UFO on Google Maps. In the realm of mysterious Antarctic enigmas, 2019 incident lit the extraterrestrial fuse. Enter Scott C. Waring, a fervent UFO enthusiast who, armed with Google Maps, embarked on a digital Antarctic odyssey. His pixelated gaze locked onto a triangular UFO ensnared within the icy clutches. With a distinctive hump and formidable edges, this alien ridge, should the thought unshackle this craft, could we witness an eerie revival of extraterrestrial occupants? This UFO trapped in icy stasis awaits a tangible inquiry, as its revelation could potentially reshape our cosmic worldview. So as we peel back the layers of ice and venture deeper into Antarctic's hidden past, we're left with a trove of unsolved puzzles. Are these clues pointing to the extraterrestrial visitors, or are they simply the product of natural phenomena that we've yet to fully comprehend? The allure of the unknown keeps us asking questions, keeps us searching for that flicker of insight that might illuminate the truth. And whether you find yourself firmly grounded in skepticism or ready to embrace the possibility of otherworldly contact, one thing is for sure: the Antarctic holds its secrets close.